So let's talk a bit about FICA taxes. So FICA taxes are made up of two different taxes. So we have the Medicare tax, which is 1.45% of the gross earnings, and then there's Social Security. So that's 6.2%, but there's a limit on that tax. That's only up to gross earnings of $117,000 each year. So if we work through an example like this one, it says employee earnings have shown the following gross earnings for 3 employees through December 15th. So Mary Irwin has made $105,000, Michael Chapman $114,000, and Pamela Evans has made $121,000 this year. Each employee's gross earnings for the final pay period of the year is $5,000. So they're each getting $5,000 in this pay period. The FICA tax rate is 7.65% on gross earnings of $117,000. That's that threshold that we were talking about earlier. We need to compute the FICA withholdings that should be made for each employee for the December 31st pay period. So we have to figure out what's the FICA tax amount. So let's start with Mary Irwin. So we know gross earnings are $5,000. We have that chart over on the left that shows the two pieces of FICA. But let's draw it out like this. So if we draw a line, and that's our $117,000 threshold, any earnings below that line get taxed the full 7.65% FICA amount. Anything above that $117,000 just gets taxed the 1.45%, just has the Medicare tax on it. So Mary Irwin was at $105,000. With the gross earnings of this pay period, the $5,000, that takes her up to $110,000. So she's still below that threshold, right? All $5,000 are below the threshold. All $5,000 will be taxed the 7.65%. So if we multiply 5,000 times 0.0765, we see that the FICA tax amount for Mary Irwin this pay period is $382, right? Because we just want to tax the $5,000 that she's making this pay period. So now we take a look at Michael Chapman. Well, Michael Chapman started off at $114,000. With this pay period, this $5,000 gross earnings amount, he's going to go over that threshold up to $119,000. So what we need to do is we need to split this apart. We need to split up the part below the threshold and the part above the threshold. So below is $3,000. From $114,000 up to $117,000, that's $3,000. Then from $117,000 up to $119,000, that's $2,000. So anything below the threshold gets taxed the full FICA amount, the 7.65%. Anything above the threshold gets taxed just Medicare, that 1.45%. So 3,000 times 0.0765 and 2,000 times 0.0145. So we see our two amounts here. We get $229.50 and then we get $29. Well, the FICA withholding for Michael Chapman is the sum of those two. So the $229.50 plus $29 gets us the FICA tax withholding for Michael Chapman in this pay period. Now Pamela Evans. So she started off at $121,000. So she's already above the threshold, right? So another $5,000, that takes her up to $126,000. But all $5,000 in this pay period are all above that $117,000 threshold. So all $5,000 will be taxed by just the 1.45%. So 5,000 times 0.0145 gets you $72.50. So the FICA tax withholding for Pamela Evans in this pay period is $72.50. So now we can take a look and see the FICA withholdings for each of our 3 employees.